I'm not going to talk about wrong techniques or things that are done stupidly. So let's keep that out of this talk. I'm going to talk about complications in reasonably well-managed cases. So the screw here was well-intentioned but not well-positioned, and then the scapholunate instability surfaced. So you need to be very sure about where you put your screw and how you put it, and you need to assess whether any additional procedures need to be done. Here again, the screw position is quite not the best, and the screw is too long and it's too thick for this. So you need to prevent this from happening by getting your armamentarium checked. Now, this is a case that we did with Dr. Anil Bhatia some years ago. He was healing very well. He had a Fernandez graft for a humpback deformity, and he was healing extremely well. The grafts looked very good, but he was in pain. And he had a fair degree of restriction of motion until we got this X-ray. So you need to look for a cause. If something is not going as per your plan, you need to look for a cause. Just removing that screw once the graft healed gave him a very, very good result. So you need to pay attention when you're fixing them to reduction of the fracture, the length of your screw, the size of the screw, the position of the screw. Otherwise, you'll end up in trouble. Now, here's a 20-year-old male. He's a national footballer, and he had this 4-week injury. And there was a tournament going, so he couldn't come away. And then he turned up in the clinic with a proximal pole fracture. So I did a percutaneous antegrade screw fixation. And to prevent rotation while drilling, I put 2 parallel guide wires. They were not parallel actually. But as the drill bit went in, it just burst into multiple small bits because the 2 wires were too close to each other, and this drill bit is extremely thin. The walls of the drill bit is extremely thin. So now my dilemma is, should I leave the bits in and proceed with my fixation because the other wire was dead center? Or should I remove the bits, for which I'll need to open this fracture and refix? I haven't consented the patient for an open reduction. Why should I remove these drill bits? Because these are not implantable material. And of course, some lawyer is waiting to get this X-ray. Here's another patient who had the similar problem, and you can see the drill bits are still within that. I proceeded to open this one and fix it down with a screw. Now here's a patient who had a fracture of the proximal pole, which was grafted and fixed. In the beginning, it looked good. At 5 months, it began to fail. There was pain and restricted motion. So I removed the screw, and I took a peg of distal radius, and I just punched it in and used that as my graft rather than opening it up and doing a major procedure. He went on to heal fairly well, and he had a fairly good function. Sometimes if the scaphoid height is not maintained, is not restored with your procedure, you end up with a complete mid-carpal collapse because the scaphoid is meant to hold the mid-carpal joint out. That's the cam effect of the scaphoid. Beautifully seen that way. Unless you restore the height of the scaphoid, you don't get this motion. This patient, of course, chose not to listen to me, and he went away. You tend to overstuff because you're so worried when you're doing this. You tend to overstuff it, and then you forget to trim it. This ends up with a lot of restriction of movements. Now, here's this patient who had a non-union since 1 year. I did a vascular Zeidenberg graft, and it retained, he began to look like he was going to heal. At 5 months, I wasn't too sure. At 19 months, definitely was not healing. Now, here's a dilemma. I've done a vascularized graft, and I have a problem now on my hands. He's got a fairly good range of movement. Should I leave that alone? But the pain returned, and that pain started getting worse. He started developing a DZ deformity. So we decided to do a medial femoral condyle graft, a microvascular graft for this patient. And we managed. This was probably, I think, Samir, I think this was one of our first ones that we did. And I didn't have the guts to put in a screw in that one because it was our first one. It looked like I wouldn't be able to put in a screw. But he went on to heal and get a fair range of movements. Here's a patient who was treated with a corticocancellous graft from the distal radius and was fixed with K wires and did not heal. At 1 year, he looked it did not unite and he was in pain. And he is a person who used to play a lot of sport. We did a complete replacement of the proximal pole of the scaphoid using the femoral condyle, medial femoral condyle graft. And at 4 months, his X-ray, his CT scan shows that the bone has healed. You see a large cartilage mantle, which is thicker than the normal cartilage mantle at this area. So though you see a gap, what you're seeing is basically the cartilage that has survived, and he's doing extremely well. So when you deal with scaphoid complications, you must anticipate and avoid these complications. Ensure that you have a proper inventory before you embark on your surgery. Precision, of course, in every surgery that we do is a must. And rarely, despite the best efforts for a chosen procedure, the scaphoid is a very difficult bone to predict. Therefore, in such instances, you can reserve free tissue transfer for these indications. Thank you.